The Force of Others, a Star Wars podcast. Hello there, and welcome to The Force of Others. I'm Zachary Owen Turner.
I'm Matt Boitner, and today on The Force of Others, we're going to talk about how Forbes named George Lucas the number 4 living innovator in American history. We got new info on the script for the unproduced Rogue Squadron movie. We're going to review the excellent comic Jar Binks #1. It's so dope. Ahmed Best and Ahmed Best, written by Ahmed Best. And I'm going to review the classic Legends novel I, Jedi. And it's a weird one. It's a weird one, but it's fun. And we're going to talk about all that. Also want to say from the jump, if you want our thoughts on the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer, we're going to link that in the doobly-doo below right now. We react to it, and we go through frame by frame to a nerdy degree. But before we get to all that, Zach, you have a starter for the show this week.
Yeah, we're going to play a little game, a game I saw online. It was called Blind Defense. Maybe we'll come up with a different name for it. But for right now, basically how this works is I have a character in mind. We will put it up on the screen for you, dear listener. And Matt will have to defend this character without knowing what the character is. So it'll be a fun little improv game. And then at the end, we reveal the character, and it should be nice and fun.
Okay.
So, Matt.
Uh-huh.
How can you like this character if so many people don't understand what he's even saying?
Hey, so, not being able to understand a character just points to the intelligence of the audience, right? Like, the things that this person's saying are just too deep to be understood by your average people, and that makes them a better character.
But not even subtitles?
Hey, you can't cater your writing to the lowest common denominator, man. You got to go deep. You got to go intellectual with a lot of Star Wars characters, okay?
All right. Well,
Sometimes you have to think.
So we have to rely on the other characters to translate for this character, I see.
Hey, C-3PO exists, man. You got to give that guy a reason to be around.
All right. And you said some people say that this character is a key part of the Resistance. You think this character is a key part of the Resistance?
Absolutely. Leia, nah. This person is who's in charge. I don't necessarily know, but they've made a lot of decisions that have made a lot of good things happen.
Yeah, and on a mission that is pivotal to the fate of the Resistance, they send this character instead of Rey. Really?
Well, the thing about who we're talking about is because I'm pretty sure I'm piecing together who this could be. Hey, the Force works in mysterious ways. Sometimes you're waiting for a bus, and you end up getting on the Millennium Falcon by accident. You might be a mechanic that doesn't even have hands, and you still need to go on the mission because that's what the Force calls you to do. Am I on the right track? So the thing about Claude is that it's just like George Lucas said about Jar Jar in the prequels. Jar Jar is the key to everything. Claude is the key to everything. The key to everything. I was sitting here going, okay, sequel trilogy. Can't understand what he says. He got sent and not Rey. Claude, for sure. I was like, I'm going to go all in. That's a fun game. So there's In Blind Defense.
Yeah.
Defending characters you don't know who you're defending. And I'll have one for Zach soon.
Yeah.
But if you have ideas for Blind Defense or any other questions about Star Wars, what we usually do in this spot, send them to forceofothersradio@gmail.com or leave them in the comments below. But in the meantime, Zach, how was your week, and what Star Wars adventures did you have this week?
Yeah, week has been busy. Valentine's Day week, so very busy at work, very busy in personal life, but very fulfilled and good. Got some updates coming soon for different art stuff that I'm doing and acting stuff. But as always, you can find me in the video game Pioneer. Pioneer with one E, which is on Steam right now, and later on PlayStation and Xbox this year. But got some other stuff that I'm working on too, which is exciting, but can't talk about. And yeah, as far as how Star Wars found me, so I was listening to music as I do on the train, and I'm a big soundtrack person. I listen to I have playlists of just soundtrack music and all that. And I was listening to The Mandalorian, which we talk about the series and the trailer. I was listening to the opening song, and the beginning I realized is the same as Tim Burton's Catwoman theme from the Tim Burton movie, the Catwoman theme. Beep, 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 beep.
Huh.
It's the same intervals at the very beginning of the Catwoman theme, and then because I literally was like, oh cool, I'm listening to Batman, and then it went bum 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 bum. I was like, oh, interesting. So that was a nice little call. Fun little, here's your little Star Wars sound moment. But as far as other ways Star Wars found me, just all the trailer hype for what we just reviewed. Go check it out. Mandalorian and Grogu out May 22nd, and I am super hyped. And we also reviewed. Did we do that last week? With the all the Galactic Racer stuff coming out, the new trailer and all that.
So much.
I have a trailer reaction up. Just cool stuff. So much fun Star Wars coming up. What about you? How was your week? How did Star Wars find you?
Great. As for my real life week, had a great Valentine's Day with my lovely wife Jenny. We went to Simply Fondue, which is a unique restaurant here in downtown Fort Worth, where it was kind of funny though. So I thought Simply Fondue, it was going to be cheese the whole time. I didn't know anything any differently. But so you pick your cheeses, and then they kind of make it at the table, right? And then you've got bread and veggies and stuff to dip through the cheese, and then you also get to pick your entrees. And then when the entrees came out, they took the cheese away and replaced it with a pot of oil, and you make your own meat, or in Jenny's case vegetables, you fry it and stuff, and they've got other dipping sauces. And had I known that, I would have been like, hey dog, leave the cheese. It's a cheese restaurant. I want to put some cheese on my stuff, man.
Yeah.
I don't want your horseradish. But all that to say, Simply Fondue, fantastic experience. Not a sponsor, but you could be. And it was great. Valentine's Day. It was really, really fun. We're trying to do unique experiences as much as possible. But then, and just in kind of pop culture adventures in general and how it led into Star Wars, I'm on a bit of a Star Trek kick right now.
Ooh. And
I'm working my way through the entirety of the Star Trek: The Next Generation for the first time. That was my first Star Trek crew. I remember being a baby and watching Star Trek: The Next Generation with my dad. The show came out, huh?
Engage.
Yeah. Number one, make it so. But I'm watching this show, and I'm into season 3 now, which, as Trekkies know, is when Star Trek: Next Generation gets a little more watchable. But I'm watching this episode and going, man, this is really, really good. And I'm always curious when it came out and if I was alive yet. And so whatever the episode was, it was called The Enemy. It premiered on September 1989. I was wild. So I had not been around for very long. But then the episode before was written by Ronald D. Moore, and it was the first one that he wrote. Ronald D. Moore, famously, one of the writers George hired to write Star Wars Underworld. We put a short up about that on the channel, where that he talked about it on Katie Sackhoff's podcast, The Sackhoff Show, and just the process of putting that show together. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. And because Ronald D. Moore is a very, 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 very prolific and famous sci-fi writer, and the first thing he did was the Star Trek Next Generation episode I had just watched, which I was like, oh, that's crazy. So one of those cool things, not unexpected that I would come upon his Star Trek stuff, but just wild that it happened at this time. And then transitioning into Star Wars through that, because I'll count that as how Star Wars found me. I saw a couple little random news stories, but that Super Bowl spot that everybody kind of made fun of and was mad about with Mandalorian and Grogu before we got the dope trailer that Zach and I just reviewed at the time of recording on February 17th. But the one that everybody made fun of, it cost $10 million.
Whoa.
Not to make, but it was for the advertising space on the Super Bowl. Because I saw a lot of people talking about, why didn't they do something bigger and badder? And it's well, if that, 30-second thing cost $10 million, they're not going to do something longer than that, right? Let's not blow our marketing budget on that.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, as entertainment and just fans in general are kind of fractured right now because there's so much media to consume, I don't know how many Star Wars fans are watching the Super Bowl. You know?
Yeah. Well, you also
Like-
need non-Star Wars fans to go see this movie.
Absolutely, but I don't know how many non-football fans are watching the Super Bowl anymore. You know, I mean, obviously there were a bunch of people that watched the halftime show. I think it had the highest viewership ever.
Mm-hmm.
Might have something to do with hiring the #1 recording artist in the world, but anyway. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think if you're going to do something at the Super Bowl, like it should, I like that it was short and silly and funny.
Yeah.
You know? But as for the other way that Star Wars found me, listener Rocky Westbrook sent some cool stuff about how Star Wars comics tied into the Acolyte. He's working his way through the canon Star Wars mainline comics. And so this is the main Star Wars volume that started in 2015.
Yeah.
And he's just finished reading issues number 25 to 32, and this was a Yoda's Secret War. They took a break from this was the Star Wars volume, I should say, that was set between A New Hope and Empire. So It's Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, the droids going on adventures. They took a break from that for these 6-7 issues, and it was Obi-Wan writing in his journal about Luke. It's where you get Chrysanthemum and all that stuff. And there's also a mission in the prequel era of Yoda going to a planet where there's this living rock, and he encounters these primitives that have their own way to the Force, and they call it stone power because they get their Force powers from this rock. But he pointed out, and he sent some visual aids, that the design on their forehead is almost the exact same thing that the witches on the Acolyte have.
Interesting.
It's basically the exact same thing. It's this white circular shape on their forehead. I don't know that was intentional on Lucasfilm's part really in any way, and it could be a wild coincidence, but I think it's really, really cool that there's some narrative through line there, and that it's Jedi encountering primitives in experiencing the Force in a way that the Jedi don't expect. Like, it's a surprise to Yoda that the Force is on this planet in this way, same as it's a surprise to the Jedi on the Acolyte that the Force is functioning in that way. And at the end of the day, I like it there's some visual symmetry, and I thought that was cool. So shout out Rocky for always bringing in or texting me cool Star Wars stuff. And then moving into the actual episode, let's talk about that first news story. So Forbes magazine, which is a magazine that I have never read, it's for people that are much more academic and, business oriented than me, but they're doing a year-long special on the 250th, birthday of America. And so to kick off our year-long series of special reports celebrating America's 250th birthday, we present the men and women who best embody that creative spirit. All of them are in the mold of the quintessential American innovator, Thomas Edison. They aren't just inventors, they're business leaders who bring breakthroughs to the market, transforming entire industries. So they talk about how they had
they chose Edison.
Yeah, right. But
they stole their ideas from other people and ruined their lives. The American way.
Yeah. Commentary.
If you don't know,
Well,
Edison just
hit it.
If you're here to say, Edison basically ruined Tesla his life. So just a very interesting choice of person there. So.
Well, and you might carry this into the first three people above George Lucas. But, so either way, they had thousands of nominees, and they talk about how they went through this very, very detailed process of breaking down the top 50 living innovators in American history. And number 1, Elon Musk. Number 2, Jeff Bezos. Number 3, Bill Gates. Number 4, George Lucas.
There we go.
And they're right up on George. One of the founding fathers of the modern blockbuster, Lucas also revolutionized movie merchandising, unleashing a never-ending tsunami of Star Wars action figures and Indiana Jones lunchboxes. Also, through his special effects house Industrial Light and Magic and THX sound outfit, he sold his tools to other movie makers. Not to mention nonlinear editing, George Lucas, Pixar, and CGI characters, period. Also George Lucas. And there's other stuff that I could even get into, but to call George Lucas an innovator is an understatement. And, mixed thoughts aside, in modern times for Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, But to have your top 4 be Musk, Bezos, Bill Gates, and George Lucas, that is rarefied air as American innovators. So, Zach, what's your thoughts on George Lucas being number 4?
Yeah, I think it's great that that he's up there. That he's up in the top 5. He did innovate so much, especially with ILM and Skywalker sound, like so much stuff. Like ILM does VFX for every movie now.
Yeah.
It's not just a Star Wars. Lucasfilm is not just a Star Wars house. It does Star Wars, but it does so much other stuff too. So I think that's really cool that a creative is up there. Because I think more creatives should be in the top 10. But also saying THX reminded me I missed something in my Star Wars week. Through THX, kind of, Robert Duvall passed away, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about what a great actor Robert Duvall is. He was in THX, which is Lucasfilm, so it kind of counts on the Star Wars podcast. But yeah, a shout out. He wasn't, I don't think, ever in anything in Star Wars proper.
No,
but
he was the first lead of a George Lucas movie.
Yeah.
Like, he was the first leading actor George Lucas ever had. Yeah. So, absolutely bears mentioning. He gave a really, really, he had a lot of great things to say about George on when the AFI honored George with a Lifetime Achievement Award like 20 years ago now. And I'll put the speech in now because I forgot to mention that.
When people asked me what it was like to work with George, I said it's like he's been doing it for 40 years in the right way, and he was only 25 years old. Excellent, outstanding. And we had to shave our heads, which was okay. I had a head start anyway, George came on the set. There were 2 cameras, 2 cinematographers, 2 everything. I mean, I never worked that way. He was so innovative. It was unbelievable. And that's kind of been his stamp into the future for here in eternity, really, is his uniqueness, his daring, his beautiful filmmaking. He's a fine filmmaker and a fine individual. Somebody once said, a great thinker said, each individual fills his own niche in time and eternity, and you have filled yours. So let's toast individually and collectively George Lucas. Hear, hear.
But you were wrapping up.
Oh, no, I just was somebody who's always been an inspiration as an actor. Open range, all the way back to Boo Radley, The Judge, just a great actor. So,
yeah, 100%, agreed. Rest in peace, Robert Duvall. But and The Godfather.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta mention The Godfather.
Yeah.
But anywho, yeah. So George Lucas, number 4 American innovator of all time, according to Forbes magazine. But moving into our next news story, I'm handing it over to Zach.
Speaking of other innovators and other creatives, we got some Rogue Squadron updates. Matthew Robertson is out promoting his latest movie, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. And while interviewing him, Isaac Roos asked him about Rogue Squadron, which these questions have to be kind of pre-screened. So it's pretty good thing that for the movie that he's talking about it. He said, quote, "I had a great time writing it. Patty Jenkins is one of my favorite artists in the world. I think she's absolutely brilliant. We had a great time working together. I don't currently know what Lucasfilm wants to do with it. There's a pretty big state of flux at the moment after Kathleen Kennedy leaving, and who knows what the future holds for them theatrically. It was a great thrill to write that, and especially to work with Patty, who made it a very personal story. It was very much a movie about fighter pilots. Her father was a fighter pilot. It was very personal to her, and we were trying to tell a really great personal story about fighter pilots and Rogue Squadron pilots in the Star Wars universe. I think we did a great job with it, and I really hope one day we get to see a version of that." Really cool. So we know that it's at least a version of the script has been fully written. This might be his way of trying to promote it in a way that it will get made, because I'm sure he gets paid a little bit more once it gets to screen, just as like a person, but also creatively, like, hey, I made this really dope script, and I would love for it to actually get made. So it seems Rogue Squadron isn't dead. Thoughts on that, Matt?
Well, I will never stop pounding the table for this movie because I want this movie. I think it's a no-brainer, man.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'll say as to whether or not it's dead or not, I think for him to be speaking this candidly, I think it's dead. I think it's dead and done, and or at least there's no movement on it right now. I think similar to the Ben Solo stuff, because I think Adam Driver said when he was talking so candidly about it, he's like, there's nothing happening, so I'm going to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Right? So, hey, but like you said, we're in an era of new leadership, so new ideas coming into play. Who knows what Filoni's going to want to do, and we got a new leadership for Disney.
Yeah.
They might say yes now. We don't know. My biggest takeaway is that we pound the table for this as well, and we beat it to death, and I don't care. It's important. I love that he says it was a personal story.
Yeah.
With a lot of heart and stuff. You need that. It can't just be explosions and fast spaceships. You've got to tell a deeper story based on character, based on people and feelings and emotions. And if they found a way to do that for fighter pilots in a franchise where the fighter pilots have always been there, but they're never what the movies are about.
Yeah.
The movies are about people with the Force, and the fighter pilots are there as cool sidekicks. Always. With the exception of, the Solo movie.
Yeah.
Right? I would love to see Top Gun and Star Wars. That's a no criffing brainer, man.
Yeah.
Dank Farrick, make this movie.
Well, I wonder if Starfighter has kind of made this either more
fair.
possible or less possible.
That's fair.
So I'm curious to see what that will do. Maybe if that movie takes off, this movie takes off. But we'll see. I would also if they're not going to do it as a movie and you have the script, get it into a book, or get it into a comic. Let's see a version of it. Don't just let it sit on the shelf. Yeah. No.
They'll probably hold off on that until it is because that's the weird thing about Hollywood. They'll say they're not going to make a movie, but they would rather have the script sit in development hell than just do away with it completely and release it as a book, because then if the right idea comes along, they could still make millions upon millions of dollars.
Right.
So they're like, oh, we're not going to make it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's our thoughts on that. As for Star Wars that happened, and Star Wars that is tactile, and wish fulfillment, and dreams that we can hold in our hands, Ahmed Best and Ahmed Best, written by Ahmed Best.
Yeah.
Zach, I made a whole... It is the best. As you said when we first talked about it, it's going to be the best. It is the best. Can confirm, this comic is great. I loved it. And Zach, I wrote a little short synopsis for you to read, unless you'd like me to.
All right, we're going to head on over to the Canon Comics Corner. All right. So shortly after Attack of the Clones, Representative Jar Jar Binks is recruited by Jedi Kelleran Beck to the planet of Urubai? Urubai? I don't know how you say it, but it's Urubai. There, Jar Jar learns of an impoverished workers being oppressed because of the emergency powers he gave Chancellor Palpatine, and that they're mining a crystal that could be used to create an untraceable, unblockable communication network. After speaking on behalf of the workers to Chancellor Palpatine, who definitely sent bounty hunters after them, Jar Jar teams up with Kelleran Beck and Mira Bridger to bring this communication network, which may lead to the Rebel Alliance. What a fun book. Some really nice shout outs to another thing that I think has to be mentioned up top is Ahmed Best posted, I think today, that one of the characters he designed after his friend, which was, oh my gosh, I didn't have
Coralisa.
He said, the best thing about Star Wars for me is watching characters from different parts of the galaxy choosing to become family. That's who Coralisa at Coco Las Vegas was to me. That's who she was to all who loved her. Ovarian cancer did not slow her down or stop her from living life to the fullest. I wanted to honor her and celebrate her for the badass she was. One of my proudest moments in Star Wars was when I told her that I created a character in this comic for her. The color that represents ovarian cancer is teal, and for breast cancer, the color is pink. We honored those colors on Coralisa's skin in the comic. Coralisa, the character, is a celebration of life of my chosen sister and to honor all of the unseen warriors of both ovarian and breast cancer. If you have someone in your family who is fighting or has fought cancer, drop their name in the comments. Jar Jar '1 is out everywhere you get your comics. I promise her and I promise you that this is only the beginning for Coralisa. My Ohana, I love you both, and I hope I made her proud, he says.
Yeah. In the post, you'd see him telling her over like Zoom or Skype or one of them that he's made her into a character in the story. She passed in November of this last year, and apparently, as that says, is one of his best friends. And I looked her up on Instagram. She appears to be a choreographer, appears to have been a choreographer and dancer and just general entertainer, which is how they met each other. But apparently was a really, really wonderful person, and talk about one of my new favorite Star Wars stories of all time.
Yeah.
That just to honor her in this way, and for him to say this is only the beginning for this character, that is a bold thing to say out in the world. Are we going to get more Jar Jar Binks comics?
Well, this is just #1.
Well, but to be fair,
Jar Jar 2, Jar Jar 3, Jar Jar 4.
They do that. Like for every Age of Republic comic and Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance, it was Age of Republic, Qui-Gon Jinn, #1.
Yeah.
And that was 3 years ago, and there's been no movement.
I don't know.
So there might
I don't
be
know.
more,
The end
but
of this book led me feeling like there would be more. I didn't feel like closed door,
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it leaves it on a cliffhanger and it says the beginning, and it's Kelleran Beck and Jar Jar Binks shaking hands as they're starting the communications network that's going to lead to the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
But for Ahmed Best's thoughts about this comic existing, because he also put this on Instagram, we're leading with all the real world stuff because there's a lot of adorable just goodness in this book. This is really what it represents to me more than just a comic. But Ahmed Best says, I was a skinny kid from the Bronx whose happy place was between the pages of Marvel Comics. Today, a lifelong dream has come true. I went from reading those pages to writing those pages. I couldn't be more grateful to everyone at Marvel and Lucasfilm. I will read the reviews tomorrow. Today is a day that I get to tell that skinny kid in the comic shop that still gets excited for issue 1s that he did good. And goes on to say, Jar Jar #1 is out today wherever you get your comics.
Yeah.
And that's just, hey, man, Star Wars is the best when it is influenced by and influences real life.
Yeah.
That's what these stories are for, and this comic is that. And that's part of why I ventured out to Collected Comics and Games in Fort Worth. Shout out, not a sponsor, but you could be. To their great comic shop and picked up this comic in the flesh. Like, I actually have a physical comic book. I think the last physical comic book I got was, I think it might have been when you got me the Star Wars #1 written by Charles Soule. And I think did you get it signed by him, or did I dream that?
I did, yeah.
Wait a minute. I forgot. So have you met Charles Soule?
No, it was so Midtown Comics here in New York does like signing events, and then after the event, if you weren't able to go, they will sell like extras that he has signed, and I happened to go the day after the event, and they had some, and I was like, I know someone who's the biggest Charles Soule fan in the planet.
Can confirm I am.
So I sent that down to Matt.
I gotta find that comic. It's somewhere in my comic collection in my room, and I need to put it up on the wall. But all that to say, I to get into the actual book, I loved it.
Yeah, it was
this
really
is a really
fun.
positive Star Wars day, man. We just got a great Mando trailer, and we just read a great comic. But yeah, opening thoughts for this for you.
Yeah, I think everything about this book is intentional, in the best way possible. You could tell, like he said, he'd been waiting to write this comic. Everything is so intentional and good, and just like positive messages that you can't help but be happy reading it. Does Jar Jar use full Jar Jar speak the entire time? Absolutely. Do you have to get past it a little bit? Yeah, but is it still wonderful and exciting that this character is kind of getting, a little bit of rewrite, a little bit of saving a bit, retro saving a little bit, but I think it's really great. And everything on, Urabai and with Coralisa and the designs of the Urubaian people is really cool. And I loved just a little nod to Rebels bringing Mira Bridger. I was like, he was like, oh, my real name's Mira Bridger. I was like, no way. And so, of course, at the end of the book, he talks about, I'm going to find a place where she can be safe, and we know that will be Lothal, and she will be Miss Bridger's, Ezra Bridger's mom.
Yes.
But if you think about it, her last name is already Bridger?
Yeah, I was confused by that. They must already be married.
Or they're a matriarchal society.
Could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I the idea that this book is about
Or they
Jar
were
Jar
never
setting up, maybe.
Yeah.
But the idea that this book is about Jar Jar setting up a communications network, and then it ends with meeting a younger version of a character that we've seen at the end of her journey on Rebels, but her big thing was sending out anti-imperial communications, and she was killed for it, right? Obviously, that's the tragic part of it, but it's really, really beautiful that they just jump scared you with, haha, this is who that is. That's the way to do a cameo, right? Not look at this person, aren't they cool? But you're meeting someone that's going on the adventure with the heroes, and at the end of that story, by the way, who are you? Oh, this is my name. So good. But as for this comic,
it'd be like going on an adventure and being like, oh yeah, there's this Jedi here, blah blah blah. He's got a green lightsaber, blonde hair, like doing cool stuff. Who are you? Oh, I'm Luke Skywalker. Oh,
Yeah. But as for this comic in general, it reminds me of a story I heard on Fat Man Beyond years ago, Kevin Smith's Batman podcast, where longtime Batman writer Paul Dini pitched a Jar Jar episode for Clone Wars that didn't end up going, but it was a mix of Horton Hears a Who and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, where Jar Jar with his giant ears can basically hear this tiny, tiny race of aliens that are about to get, destroyed by deforestation or industrialization of a planet that Palpatine wants to do for money or something, and Jar Jar's like, Misa can hear peoples, and basically does his, they're trying to manipulate him and use him to be the person that'll sign off on another bad thing, and he does his Mr. Smith speech of no, we've got to protect the little ones, and they're like, dang it. Which, you want to talk about, we talked about the Rogue Squadron thing needing to be a book or a comic or something. Do that with that episode. That's so good. Yeah. That could totally exist right alongside with this.
Jar Jar number 4, number 5?
Yeah, yeah. But anywho, so moving into our positives, always leading with our positives. Zach, your first biggest likes from the Jar Jar number 1.
Yeah, I really love the design of the Urabai people. He talks about the 2 different colors for being, representatives of fighting cancer. I loved how they kind of swirled on the skin, almost like tattoos. And the first bounty hunter guy, I was like, cool design. And then you find out that it's the whole people, and you're like, cool. I just really love that design element.
Yeah. They got little ones to start out with. Rick Oley, cool.
Yeah, Rick Oley.
Borderline useless character in Star Wars Episode 1, but I love the consistency of having him show up. Type of fan service I like. No reason for him to be the pilot other than that it's cool. And also...
He's a Naboo pilot. He's the senator. Makes sense.
Yeah, sure. But then other thing, consistent fan service, Jar Jar immediately gets lost. It's so funny. He's like, are you sure you don't want me to go with you? I'll be fine. I am lost. Immediately. It was perfect. Yes, a character like Jar Jar can be deployed in a way that is just annoying and grating. They can also be deployed in a way that is classic fool, clown cinema.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's Jim Carrey, right? You know what the joke's going to be, and it's still funny. Mm-hmm. But back to you.
Yeah, I loved the, right after that, the reveal of Kelleran Beck, and somebody would call it aura farming, but man, it's so cool coming out of the fog and the mist with the hood and everything. I like Kelleran Beck as a character a lot. I think it's one of my favorite, newer characters. I love that it's Ahmed Best. I think it's so fun that it's 2 of his characters just chatting almost the entire book. So
well, and it's such a great entrance that fits with the character of both of them. Jar Jar, immediately after getting lost, there's a bad guy that's gotten the jump on him in the alley, has him at gunpoint, and Jar Jar's like, well, maybe I can scare him, and then all of a sudden, the bad guy's like, oh my gosh, no, I'm sorry, and leaves, and Jar Jar's like, Misa's scarier than I thought, and then turns around and realizes, oh, there's a Jedi behind me.
Yeah.
It's perfection. And he lowers the hood and is standing in almost the exact same pose that he's standing for some Mandalorian like promo art, right?
Yeah.
Just with his head up. And I love that it's the two different sides to Ahmed Best, right?
Yeah.
That Ahmed Best is also a martial artist. He's not just a trained mime and a trained dance performer and stuff. Dancer. But I love that entrance for Kelleran Beck. I love that Jar Jar knows him as the sabered hand. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then a silly little cute storytelling thing that I really, really liked. Jar Jar and Kelleran have the same thinking pose. They both kind of put their pointer finger on their chin and are thinking when they're when they're deciding how to deal with the problem of the comic. That was the cute just stuff that I loved that.
Yeah.
But back to you.
Yeah, I love that. This. It feels very Star Wars to have this utopia, and then to also show hey, no, the utopia exists because they are exploiting their workers so much so that these people were going to die if they keep on mining this coaxium, which was a nice little nod there. So basically, they're mining coaxium to fuel all of the ships of the Republic. And it's so much so that the planet is going to implode, much like Gorman. So.
Yeah. Next big like. I'm sure you freaked out.
What?
Rumslag,
yeah.
Zach's favorite Glup Shitto shows up as one of the 2 bounty hunters hired.
He's so cool.
I lost my mind. It was so cool, and it had to come from Ahmed Best going. There was this really dope extra in Phantom Menace. Can we put that guy in there? And I love that even Rumslag's ship has a skull on it as well.
Yeah.
If you don't know what we're talking about, he's the bounty hunter with a skull face and a skull on his armor that you see for. I wouldn't even know he was a bounty hunter. You see him for 2 seconds. He walks past the Sith probe droid in a Phantom Menace right before the pod race sequence. Yeah. And Zach's favorite Glup Shitto. But yeah, did you lose your mind?
I did. I was like, cool. I had heard that he was going to be in it. So the surprise wasn't there, but I was like, all right. His ship though, I was like, that's so stupid and cool. To have the skull on the front too, which also makes me wonder, is it his body or is it a helmet? It didn't help. It didn't help
cares?
Who is this character? But I love it. I also love the Aura Singh, and we've seen Aura Singh in a couple of things in Clone Wars, but I love that Rumslag was there and just being cool. So
yeah, love it. Well, and this whole comic in many ways felt like a love letter to the Phantom Menace. Yeah. Right. That Rick Oli's in there, Rumslag is in there, and Aura Singh is in there. It's and obviously, of course, Jar Jar. But it's we're going to take that movie that everybody made fun of in 1999, and we're going to celebrate the stuff, the little things about it.
Yeah.
But obviously other likes, or you go.
Yeah.
Because Rumslag was me.
I like that that Jar Jar he becomes a representative of people. He is a senator in this moment. He's like, hey, Palpatine, you are working these people to the bone. And I like that we see evil political Palpatine. He's like, no, it's for the good of the Republic. Oh, we have laws for that. I don't know what else I can do. Boo, boo, boo. I love that Jar Jar is like, hey, I'm the one who gave you the powers. I started that thing, so maybe you should listen to me a little bit. And that Palpatine is ultimately so knowledgeable of everything that has happened.
Well, yeah, and in that same sequence, I love that Palpatine greets him, my favorite delegate.
Yeah.
So good. But then, that you get the little reveal, the tip of the hat, that he is, in fact, a douchebag. When Palpatine's like, yeah, and I understand you were instrumental in helping... I think he calls her Kelleran Beck escape the bounty hunters. And Jar Jar's like, you knew about that? And he's like, I wouldn't be a good chancellor if I didn't know about it as much as I could. And it's like, oh, and we know, Sidious sent the bounty hunters. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Bottom line, I loved this book. I thought it was dope. Last big thing to bring up, and they underline it, but the ship that Jar Jar and Kelleran Beck and Rick Oli and Myra Bridger are flying in is the same one Kelleran Beck gets Grogu to in Mando Season 3, and that's the handshake agreement that they make. Not only are they going to start, Jar Jar says, we're starting this communications network now.
Yeah.
And it's because of the conversation he had with Palpatine. If Palpatine going, I wouldn't be very good if I didn't know.
Yeah.
What's up?
No, I was just going to reiterate what you were saying. So
Yeah. But then that Kelleran's like, okay, just one. And that Jar Jar's like, I know the perfect Jedi to start this.
Yeah.
And Kelleran's like, cool, one thing. I get to use this ship whenever I need it.
Yeah.
So, confirmed, Kelleran Beck, Jar Jar Binks working together. To a degree that, like, I don't know if we will ever see it again. I don't know that we need to, but it would be really fun. If we never get it again, I love this story, but I'd love to have more.
Yeah.
But keep going.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the end of my likes. I do have some respectful dislikes and some discussion questions. Dislike number one for me, Kelleran Beck doesn't have his Afro symbolism on his robes.
Oh.
He doesn't have a sigilism, so I'm wondering. It's a dislike and a discussion question. It's not a really dislike. I just love that design element of that character. Do you think that means that he's like a Jedi Knight here and he becomes a Jedi Master and that's when he gets to add those symbols to his robe, or where that comes into play? Because I know that was an Ahmed Best additive to the character, so I'm very curious that wasn't there.
Oh, gosh, you're so right. He doesn't have him. I'm looking at the one close-up of when he yells, run. Now, he does I got the variant cover, and he does have them here.
Interesting.
I don't know if you can see that, what the glare's like. That might just be a detail that got lost in the shortened production time of a comic book.
True.
But that's probably what it is. But I would think that was cool if it was that he's a knight and he doesn't get to personalize it that way until he's a master.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's some other reason. But yeah, I didn't think about that. That makes me sad.
Yeah.
Good noticing.
Any dislikes or discussions from you for the next? Because I have a couple more that I would like.
Honestly, I didn't. I was only positives. I loved it. I loved the whole thing. But hit him.
The only like thing that I thought was just a little too cheeky was Palpatine going, "I see you in him and him in you." It's like, yeah, we get it. They're both Ahmed Best. But
yeah,
those were my two like silly question, dislikes.
Yeah.
But no, I think this book is so great. Do you think? I mean, we talked about it a little bit. Do you think if this one takes off, we'll get another one?
I mean, I don't know. The business of comics is not as transparent as the business of like movies and TV.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know that comics really do take off anymore. You know what I mean?
True.
The only thing that makes me think that there's more coming is what we talked about earlier, that Ahmed Best said in his post talking about the creation of the character Coralisa.
Yeah.
That I promised her and I'm promising you this is just the beginning for Coralisa Senig.
Yeah.
So it might be that they've got plans for other stories, because he co-wrote this. It wasn't just Ahmed Best. He co-wrote it with Mark Guggenheim, who wrote the Jedi Knights series. It could be that we're going to get a new comic following Kelleran Beck.
True. And
beginning the Rebel Alliance, right? Yeah. Getting a glimpse into what this communications network becomes. But I would be here for it. He might be too deep of a cut for your average person, but the idea of a prequel comic book following a Jedi who's known as the Sabered Hand, starting the rebellion, sounds awesome. Yeah. Please make it.
Also, for our listeners or people that don't know why he's called the Sabered Hand, because I had to look it up because I couldn't remember, because his hand is not a saber, is that he is so proficient with a lightsaber that it is as if the lightsaber is his hand. That's why he's called the Sabered Hand. Really cool moniker, and I was reading this again, I was like, Sabered Hand, why is he called that?
Yeah.
Just cool stuff.
Love it. But you got any other questions?
Nope. That's it for me. What a great book.
Yeah, I loved it. It's everything I said up top. I love when Star Wars is influenced by and influences real life. Yeah. That's what these myths are for. That's why humans tell myths. That's why we tell campfire stories. It's to kind of make sense of the wider world, right? Or at least it's to express how we feel in a way that can be universal, in a way that anybody can get something out of it. And I just love it when people make art personal. Mm-hmm. So Anyway, speaking of art that is loved but is not necessarily personal, we got an old Legends book from 1998, I, Jedi, in the words of Ahsoka Tano.
There's always a bit of truth in legends.
Yeah.
Thank you, Master Ahsoka. Alrighty. So now we're moving into I, Jedi, the Michael Stackpole classic novel, like I said, from 98. So quick little rundown, because Zach, have you ever heard of this story before?
I have not. I started it like when we finished listening to Heir to the Empire. This like a clip of it played afterwards as like what you should read next. But I had not read it, and I don't know what it's about. So
what a random one to recommend next.
yeah,
because this is way later. Well, not way later, but it's been a good 5-6 years, I think, in the Star Wars timeline. But so after Rogue Squadron pilot Corran Horn's wife Mirax vanishes, he resolves to undergo Jedi training with Luke Skywalker to gain the skills to find and save her. He only does so after he has left the Jedi and gone undercover as a pirate. But over the course of the story, you get a retelling of the Jedi Academy trilogy from his perspective. Cool. And that is also why this book, with teeny tiny writing, as you can see, is 500 and there's 2 epilogues. How many pages we got here? Oh gosh, dramatic pause. 577 pages long.
woof.
And the audiobook, which is actually what I listened to, and I just picked up the novel because I saw it and I think it's a great cover. The audiobook was almost 21 hours. Wow. So it was a long one for my first Star Wars book of the year. But overall, this was kind of a mixed bag for me. There's parts of it that are really, really cool classic Star Wars storytelling, and there's parts of it that I think we have moved past as a storytelling culture, or it just hit me weird. But biggest positives, it's a weird choice, but I liked it. This novel is told in first person. It is exclusively from Corran Horn's perspective, and it is ultimate 90s wish fulfillment, right? Like, there's something that just gives me chills about going to Yavin 4 and being a Jedi apprentice of Luke Skywalker.
Right.
As a Star Wars fan in the 90s, that's what we all wanted, right? In many ways, is what we kind of still want to see those stories. Luke will always be our boy for our generation, and getting to see him train the next generation of Jedi kind of feels like a promise that was set up by Return of the Jedi, right? As what was cool is that Corran has a specific Force affinity. He's really, really good at mind tricking, but specifically at mental projection. Like just to make people see things that is not really there.
Interesting.
Right? And I thought that was cool. They do the thing that was more of an EU bit where, like, yeah, you're good at that just like everyone in your Jedi family before you was. All of the Horns, or rather the Halcyons, which is their Jedi name, were really, really good at that. They've kind of moved away from that in canon and made your Force powers and Force affinities less like... I mean, I guess... Midi-chlorians are a thing now, so you can say that that's the genetic element, but it's not like everybody in your family was good at Force push, so you are too. You know what I mean? But anywho... there was this really cool description of Luke Skywalker searching Corran's mind, because what happens early in the novel is he, early on, he's resolved to, like, okay, fine, yes, let's make a family. Let's have kids. And Mirax is out on a mission, right? Because they're both New Republic agents. And then he has this horrible nightmare where he envisions her in danger next to him, but she's not there. She's gone, and she vanishes. And Luke Skywalker figures out, because they're buddies, like, I think you have some untapped Force potential.
Interesting.
Right? And but there's this really cool description of Luke searching his mind for whatever other information the Force has given him, searching Corran's mind, and it doesn't work at first until he gets Corran to think about, like, a similar thing to kind of open a doorway for Luke to see in for what he's specifically looking for. There was a really, really great wish fulfillment moment. There's at one point Corran gets in a lightsaber duel with 5 bad guys, and his wingman is Luke Skywalker.
Cool.
It's just like, yes, just like it made me think of a similar moment in Jedi Outcast, the last Kyle Katarn game where you're on a mission and all of a sudden another Jedi runs to your aid, like just appears, and it's Luke Skywalker.
Cool.
And I remember screaming when I was playing that game for the first time, and I had to pause the game and just like kind of hold my forehead because I was getting to lightsaber duel alongside Luke Skywalker. Fanboy's got a fanboy, man. No apologies. But there's a great Han Solo quote. Finally, someone who has in-laws as interesting as mine. Thought that was hilarious. And it was cool that it's not just Jedi time. He does leave the Jedi, and then you get time as a pirate and a crime fighter.
Cool.
He does call it almost like a Batman thing on this underworld Hutt planet, and it's how he like kind of takes down this Hutt crime lord. Why this book is so long is there's like 4 different books in one, which is kind of a negative. But sticking with the positives, I got some, as always, Mark Thompson is the best Star Wars audiobook reader, and I got some Mark Thompson classics to take from this. He gave a really, really interesting description. Of course, he didn't write this. Michael Stackpole did. But I liked this part of the book of describing how Jedi see things before they happen, and the first time Corran was able to do that.
Whenever you want to start. He approached cautiously, but as I watched him, bits and pieces of my visual perspective shifted. I saw a second and third image of him arise, with each of them moving to the right or the left, with arms coming up or around, and only when his true form rose up to match it would I know where his attack was coming from. I realized the images I was seeing were a sense of his thought processes, a reflection of strategies weighed and rejected. When he made his choice, I'd already seen it and could sidestep it with ease. Over the next 10 minutes, we continued to spar. My reading of his intention was far from foolproof, and I had the...
I don't know why it stopped.
That's really cool.
Yeah, great writing, and as always, Star Wars audiobooks, the best production design. It's a movie in your ears.
Yeah.
Love that bit. And it was just such a cool way to visualize Jedi seeing things before they happen, right? Another great piece of writing, as always, read by Mark Thompson, but Luke describing Vader's redemption to his Jedi students, because that, like, it's a kind of a cool thing as Star Wars fans. How would Luke Skywalker describe this to other people, right? And then especially to his students, and you get a moment of that here.
And he had once been. Though wrapped in layers of evil, this man still existed. In Vader's final moments, he won out. He rejected the evil that had become his life. He rejected his master, the Emperor, and killed him. Brachus's head came up. I thought you killed the Emperor. Luke shook his head. I caused the Emperor to be destroyed by reaching out to the good in Darth Vader and making him change his heart. I was just the instrument of change that allowed Darth Vader to redeem himself.
Yeah. So also
Great.
that we get the inkling that of how these in-universe legends grow and change and shift, that I guess for at least for Brachus, one of his students, some people thought that the story was that Luke Skywalker killed the Emperor. And he was like, no, the other guy did.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, love that piece of writing. So cool. And then a funny one. There's lots of cool ties in this book to the rest of the expanded universe to this point. Obviously the Jedi Academy trilogy, because you get that basically whole series of novels, all 3 of them, from Corran Horn's perspective, which I haven't read those books, but I knew that was in here, and so I've gotten kind of a preview of the Jedi Academy trilogy. But there's lots of ties to Dark Empire and Dark Empire 2. One of the cool things about that comic is it starts, and Luke's on a mission with a Jedi that he has found, named Cam Solusar, which is just like, yeah, why not? Why wouldn't that exist, right? And this is someone that, if I remember right, he fell to the dark side for a bit, and so kind of pushed himself off from the Force, Luke Skywalker Last Jedi style, and Luke was like, come back, help me.
Yeah.
But for some reason, because Mark Thompson had to come up with a bunch of different voices in this book, as he always does, he decided that Cam Solusar was going to sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and let's dive into it.
Cam came around and draped an arm rather heavily over Brachus's shoulders.
What Kieran's telling you is right, kid. People start telling themselves they're amassing power for this goal or that, and they convince themselves that it's a good thing. Then when they get enough, they find circumstances have changed. They find they need more power, or they need to wield this power in ways they didn't expect before.
Oh, I love that.
And they have to wield this power in ways they didn't expect. It's crazy. So, yeah. I just thought that was hilarious.
Hey,
When I was listening to it, what would you say?
To defend Mark Thompson, with a 6,000 page, how 24 hours worth of audio, sometimes you just gotta anchor into a voice, and a bad impression is a new voice. Not that this is a bad impression. This is a very good impression, but like even a bad impression is a new voice. So.
Oh, and I'm not even saying it's a bad impression. I'm not even trying to say that he's bad at what he does or that that was a dumb choice. I just thought it was funny, and I wish I had been in the booth when he got to the point that he was like, "Oh wait, he has to say power."
The power.
Okay, the power, and then it's full on Arnold Schwarzenegger. They want more power. And when I was listening to the audiobook, if I remember right, I was running at this point, and I almost tripped. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
And
Also,
there was somebody else in the park looking at me like I was crazy. Go ahead.
Arnold must fit into Star Wars because the first ever D&D game Matt and I played together, the hut was Arnold. So.
It's Arnold. Which, to be fair, I just stole from Sam Witwer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When you watch the Gag Wars stream on a Gaghead, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s gaming channel, but their Star Wars RPG stream, when they're going up against Timo the Hutt, he's like, "Yeah, my name is Timo, and you've made me angry." And it just doesn't. It's just for the bit. But okay, so we've led with our positives and moving into the respectful dislikes. First a silly one. There's a character named Booster Tarek, and I thought that name was dumb. It's
Star
just
Wars.
silly. It's Star Wars and silly, but I was like, come on, dog. But to get into some specific dislikes, why he leaves the Jedi makes no sense to me. And it isn't treated as a character flaw. It's treated like, to me, I felt like the book treated Corran Horn like he was smarter than Luke Skywalker at something that he has no business acting like he knows more about. But he says, "I don't fear the dark side like you do," and then proceeds to make a fundamentally stupid argument. So ultimately, he's mad that Luke forgave the villain of the Jedi Academy trilogy. In those books, Kip Duran is the character's name. In the books, Kip is possessed by an ancient Sith Lord and destroys a whole star system because he's possessed by an ancient Sith Lord. And after they get rid of the Sith spirit, Luke has Kip Duran return to the place where he was possessed. Kip overcomes his own demons.
Cool.
And Luke lets him back into the Order, which is what you should do. Like, full stop. That's the message of Star Wars, right? Oh, okay, forgiveness. If you can forgive Darth Vader, you can forgive someone that was possessed and did something against their will. But Corran says that, he understands the dark side better than Luke. Because back when he was a space cop, or really he worked for Corellian security, he saw people at their worst and wanted to kill them or abuse the law to get them arrested when they needed to be, and he never did. And he's like, the choice to be evil is a choice, and you see the dark side too broadly. And he leaves the Order. So, let me get this straight. Because he saw bad stuff as a street-level space cop, he understands forgiveness, redemption, and temptation better than the guy that redeemed Darth Vader. And Luke doesn't say that to him because he's a good person. And I was like, come on. I just thought it was dumb. You could have come up with a better reason or had Luke make an argument or just be like, hey, I respectfully disagree. Here's why.
Yeah.
But okay. It's treated as this dunking on him that doesn't hold any water to me.
Yeah.
I just thought it was strange. But then into an uncomfy dislike, but I want to bring up because all people should be respected in all art. It started out as silly, and then it got kind of uncomfy, and it is something that kind of makes me not want to recommend this book, but I do want to mention it in case somebody seeks out this novel and it makes them uncomfortable. There's some over-sexualization stuff in this novel. This one was funny, but it goes on a little long. At one point, Corran escapes an explosion, and there's a prolonged sequence of him walking the streets naked because all of his clothes got burned off, and then two ladies see him and giggle and stuff. And I was like, okay, I mean, that could be adventure comedy, but every single time we meet a female character, you get a description of her body. They all have to be described as beautiful, and at least twice specifically, this is the weird part, but it was two different characters were described this way. specifically describes how their hair drapes over their breasts. I'm not joking. It's weird. It's weird.
You could
And
say
then there's this
mid-back.
moment.
Like,
Yeah, like just don't, but it's like, come on. And then there's this weird moment where the villain that is partially responsible for kidnapping Corrin's wife, Mirax, she is attracted to him. She doesn't know who he is. And basically she wants to take him as her lover. And he takes the back half of an entire chapter debating if an affair to get closer to her to get the information he needs would be justified in his current predicament. And his ultimate realization as to why that would be bad would be that he'd be having an affair because he wanted to, not because it would help the journey that he's on. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Why did it take 10 minutes of this audiobook on 1.2 speed for him to figure that out? Is it just that Corrin's kind of stupid? Which is fine, but I felt like I was taking crazy pills for that whole... It was very weird.
yeah.
But then the wildest thing, and I know I'm being very negative and whatever, but this was the part that were I not 20 hours into this book, 21 hours long, I would have been like, okay, I think I'm done. But a quote from Corrin Horn, former space cop: "Interrogating women is always tricky, mainly because they tend to be suspicious of any claims made by a man and often use their looks and wiles to fool a detective." And I was like, what? So I had to bring that up because it was next level, just uncomfortable stuff for me. And I wanted to bring that up. It was when I mentioned that I'd read this book a couple weeks ago, I was like, we have grown as storytellers. That's something that is ultimate cringy to me. Because if you're going to do something like that, in my opinion, you need to have a character show up to be like, hey, no, right? And not just say that and then let it lie.
Say? No, you can't say that.
Yeah, it was weird. It was very, very
Maybe that's
weird.
why he's not in the Jedi Order, because he's a sexist.
But even then, Luke Skywalker would be like, hey, man, you need to, like, deal with that, overcome those demons, and then I'll let you back into the Order, maybe like you should. But anyway, but all that to say, Jedi is a mixed bag. There were parts of it that I really, really loved, and all the parts that I didn't like were that. So
for people that probably won't read this book, especially now, does he get his wife back?
Oh, yeah. It ends with he finds her in, like, the second to last chapter. He uses some of his Jedi... It's the whole thing of, like, I don't want to be a Jedi anymore. I'm going to be a pirate. Oh, maybe I kind of also need to be a Jedi. Okay, I'm going to be both. And then he's able to rescue Mirax, which is fine. My biggest complaint is the stuff that I just talked about, all the uncomfortable things that you could argue I shouldn't have brought up, but I had to.
People, if you were like, hey, go read this book, and then they read it, and they'd be like, what the heck?
Yeah, it was a weird thing to me, but the other thing is it's a long book, man.
Yeah.
It is long. It felt like you could have made a whole trilogy out of this. But anyway, parts that I really, really liked, parts that I really, really didn't. It'll be up on the shelf, and I'll probably never crack it again, except for the first half I really, really liked because it was Luke Skywalker Jedi stuff on Yavin 4 to the point that I probably need to get around to reading the Jedi Academy trilogy because I'll probably really like it.
Yeah.
You know? Sith possession is a weird thing for me, but hey, whatever. Yeah. Sidebar, because that Sith was, the spirit is trapped in a temple on Yavin 4. I saw a couple really, really funny tweets about Andor Season 2, and it's like, now that they're on Yavin, it was like, I wonder if the last couple episodes are going to be them fighting the escaped spirit of Exar, just like the most ridiculous, pulpy Star Wars stuff that has no business being on Andor.
That's funny.
You know, just people being like, I wonder when they're going to do that and how they're going to make it about fascism. But anyway, Jedi, read it if you want. But Zach, how can the people get involved with what they just watched or listened to?
Yeah, thanks for listening and watching the show. Big show for you. If you would like to talk to us or tell us anything about the show that you liked or disliked. If you have read Jedi and also found some things uncomfy, let us know. Email us forceofothersradio@gmail.com or get into the comments. We are in the comments section always responding. And we also have a wonderful Instagram. We've been posting a lot of really fun stuff. We have a bunch of stuff this year coming up. Maul Shadow Lord is going to be a huge thing. We are very excited about it. But yeah, email us forceofothersradio@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we will be here every week giving you Star Wars.
Every week giving you Star Wars. And we want you to give us Star Wars. We do want this to be a community. I know that every single podcast on the planet talks about community, but and there's 10,000 Star Wars podcasts, but the Force of Others, that is quite literally, as silly as it is to say to have a mission with a nerdy podcast, that's the mission. That's the mission, that's the goal. Force of Others, we want to be here, we want to be positive, we want to be open, we want to be honest. So get in them comments and we'll get in the comments as well. That fell apart. But, yeah, all that to say, fantastic Star Wars time right now. We got a great Mandor trailer. We got a great Mando trailer. We got a great Jar Jar comic. And we got a cool 90s novel. But more Legend stuff coming. I'm making my way through Fate of the Jedi Book 2 right now. And I'm really, really liking that book series.
Nice.
I read Outcast way back last year, and it took forever to pick up the next Fate of the Jedi book just because I'm a slow reader. But all that to say, we got a lot of Star Wars coming. And in the meantime, remember, we are not the Force of Others, you are. And the Force of Others will be with you.
Always.
The Force of Others, a Star Wars podcast.